Well, okay. I mean, holy mackerel, there's just so much going on that it's just like hard to keep your brain focused on all the different playing fields. We have, Israel taking out the head of the snake today. That was pretty fun. So in addition to everything else, we've got that. Okay, but apparently the FOMO for robotaxi hasn't taken hold completely yet. And Tesla sold off on the market today. There was a bunch of really dumb FUD out there, might have been a part of it. What are you thinking, Nicholas Gibbs?
I'm thinking that we are on the verge, on the precipice of at the end of this year, FSD will be robotaxi ready. That's where I'm at. This is somebody who has 12.5.1, somebody who apparently I'm one of the early beta testers at this point. Didn't
Wow.
realize I got lumped into that group, but I think I officially am, um, because I'm getting them the same time Omar gets them. So I imagine
Oh,
that makes me an early beta tester now. But I, based on what I'm seeing, Randy, I think everybody is missing what's right in front of them.
it's nearly there. Hey.
To be frank, I was just coming back from dinner with my wife, and we were talking about it, and I was saying, listen, the only two times that we've had to take over was for one was the road was closed
Oh,
because of a baseball game going on. It was the Rays playing the Red Sox, I think, and we had to detour. It did a detour and everything, and I tried to turn down the road that all of a sudden had a road closed sign, and it couldn't back out.
got it.
And then earlier today, we were at the doctor's office, and same thing. We went down a road,
Oh,
and it had a road close sign, and we couldn't back out. And you
right.
could see FSD wanted to do something, and it's like, I don't know how to do this, but I need to do something. So I think once it can back out, I mean, listen, this is tangent, I guess, but I I tried to play coy and smart with FSD,
Uh-huh.
and I dropped a pin at the top floor of a parking garage for the doctor's office. It took us all the way up.
Oh, come on.
Everything, I swear to you. It turned into the parking garage, went up, I think it was like 8 floors, went all the
Wow.
way up. Yeah, it was pretty
And
wild.
the whole way. Okay. That's the
Yep.
first time I heard of that. That's really amazing.
Yeah,
All right.
I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect, but yeah,
So,
it did it.
so when does the FOMO start? I mean, we're 90 days away from October 10th. We're not quite into August yet, August, September. No, we're less than 90 days. So 75 days or something like that away. When does the FOMO start?
That's interesting. That's a great question. It's something I've actually been meaning to do. I want to go back and just look at a chart and see how far away from 8.8 did we start to run, because it
Uh-huh.
was very clear that we started to run in anticipation.
Right.
It's almost stupid. I don't. There's no other word, but it's almost stupid to see how this happened, because even once the rumors came out that 8.8 was delayed,
Right.
you saw the stock tank, and
Yeah.
we haven't recovered from that. And now we have a new date, and the question is, okay, well, if we were at those prices in the stock when we thought it was going to
Yeah.
happen,
Yeah.
now we're nowhere near that. It seems only logical to think, well, we're eventually going to get back to that in anticipation for 1010.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it really seems like we're going to be at 265, but sometime between now and 210, or
Yeah.
until 1010. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I kind of thought yesterday was the beginning. I thought it would just kind of maybe move back into that range like you're talking about. And then, today's sell-off, I mean, it was a big sell-off on the Magnificent Seven, pretty much all down. And apparently, for good reason with Microsoft with their big miss. So,
Well,
hmm,
d-
go ahead.
they didn't have a big miss.
Well, it was only
I
Azure. They missed on Azure. And
but
that's what everybody was focusing on.
but it wasn't a big miss is the thing, though. My point in saying this, it really wasn't. It was honestly the tiniest of misses. But what it shows you is that right now the
Yeah,
market is priced to perfection,
right.
that any slight disappointment shows I don't know, last I saw 6% downturn.
Actually,
Um,
actually, it's ending. I think it's only about 3% now. So
Makes sense.
yeah, make some of that back.
but AMD doubled in sales.
Yes, right.
And they're soaring. I mean, they're up. I'm looking at it right here, actually, 8%, 7.99%. So it's really interesting. But let's go back to your initial question.
Sure.
And I'm sure you have a list of things to talk about. I'm deviating here. But
Okay.
your question was, when will the FOMO kick in?
Right.
And I suspect that we will start to see a lot of this play out after August 28th. And why August 28th, you ask, is because that's when NVIDIA has their earnings. So I
Oh,
think after that is when essentially earnings seasons for tech comes to a close. Amazon will be done, Microsoft, Meta, Tesla already had theirs, NVIDIA, AMD, all these essentially will be done. Apple will be done. And at that point, well, what's the next thing to get excited about? Guess what?
10, 10.
10.
All right. Okay, cool. All right. Well, speaking of NVIDIA, they said today that they're going to offer the makers of robots, all the leading robot people, a turnkey package of software. I think that's what they said anyway. Is that about right?
It's a shelfware, as I've told you
Shelfware.
before. Yeah,
Shelf.
it's if you're not familiar with that term, in the software industry, shelfware refers to something you put on the shelf and you kind of forget about it, collects dust. So this is just Nick's opinion and what Nick thinks. Okay, so take this with a grain of salt. This is by no means financial advice or me looking into a crystal ball or something I know that's not that something, some inside information I know. It's not. But right now, NVIDIA is at a sweet spot. They're viewed as the dominant AI company, right? That's how people see them.
Right.
Even though I disagree with that, I see them as a compute company, not even compute, a compute design
Right.
company. But they do hold leadership in that, and their valuation is probably undervalued, to be frank, but they deserve it.
Uh-huh.
But I don't see them as an AI company. However, the market has given them that label. And what I see that they are doing is, well, okay, all these companies need our chips, and all these companies don't know where to start with software. Why don't we create a software for them? Let's create a platform for autonomous vehicles. Let's create a platform for robotics. Let's create a platform for designing things, digital twins. Let's create a platform. So I think they're kind of just finding different ways to monetize and take advantage of other companies' lack of skill sets. So a lot of these robotic companies, they're not they're not really well
Tesla.
versed in
They're
this
not
field.
Tesla.
They're not Tesla. Yeah. Like Ford, okay? Ford, GM, etc. They don't even know where to really start. I'm not saying that Nvidia I Nvidia is definitely not Tesla, but Nvidia is not Ford and GM. And
Right.
Nvidia can probably put something together, some type of framework and say, "Hey, go build on this. We'll
Yeah.
sell you this. Go build on that. Figure that out." And I think that's what they're doing. And it's smart. It's a smart play. You see lots of companies that do this, especially when they have a dominant space. And it's like, "Hey, let's put out all these different beta products, see what happens." I think that's what's happening. Personally, I don't really see Nvidia as a true software company. CUDA, I hats off on CUDA. CUDA is amazing, but it's not cogent to sit there and say just because you do GPU design really well, just because you have great backend, really good software, that does not translate to, okay, well, I know how to build autonomous robotics when I don't even have a way to collect data and I don't even know where to start from that. And I don't even know what's needed. I may
Right.
have an idea based on papers, but so, anyways, my whole point in saying all this is that I think there's a lot of hot air in this.
Okay. Yeah. So it remains to be seen what the value proposition is. It'd be interesting to see if Tesla actually ever buys any of that from them, or if we ever.
They won't. No.
Well, I don't think they will either, but it would be interesting if they did have, if Tesla's looking at these packages and going, you know what? Hey, there's an idea. No,
No.
not a chance.
I would bet my net worth
Oh, gee,
on this.
that's a big bet, buddy. But then
Yeah.
you can make it back.
I I would bet my net worth on this. They are not even they don't even view them as competitive in this
Right,
space at
right,
all.
right, right.
It it is more of a cogent thing to say. I say cogent a lot tonight, I guess,
Yeah.
but it's more cogent to say that NVIDIA is looking at Dojo as
Right.
competition than
Right.
it is to say Tesla's even has a glimmer in their eye at what NVIDIA is doing from a software perspective. It's not even close, not even remotely.
All right, now I'm going to go even deeper. Okay, and I did this with Larry. I don't know if you saw last night with Larry or not.
I saw parts actually.
Okay, so I don't know if you
So
saw
we'll
the part
see.
about I don't know if you saw the part about AI. I thought it was a great conversation, but I wanted to follow up on it with you because I certainly learned from Larry, and I've also I watched that Eric Schmidt video the other day. I don't know if you saw that over the weekend. It was fabulous. How will we know when a company has achieved the Holy Grail that they're spending billions to achieve? You got 7 or 10 companies spending billions of dollars to become first at AGI or at solving AI, however you want to put the title, the headline on this. What will be the evidence? How will they know? And then how will they tell us?
Y- I don't think anyone will.
Okay.
You know, I think it's going to be more of one of those things where you look at yourself every day in the mirror,
Yeah.
every single day, and you don't notice any changes in yourself
Unless when I was a
until,
teenager, there was always that zit. It always grew in
yeah.
exactly the same place. Yeah.
And it takes looking back at old picture, to really show you, oh man, I do look a little different. When you see yourself every day,
Yeah.
you just get used to what you see and you don't notice the changes. And I think that's how this is going to play out with AI. I don't think it's going to just boom happen and like, oh my God, we had this breakthrough. And to be frank, none of this stuff ever happens that way. Even just look at FSD.
Mhm.
FSD has not been like, boom, we have a big breakthrough.
Right.
We've had moments of, oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is different. Oh,
Like
this
this
seems
weekend.
like a step forward. Yeah. I mean, it was a step forward, but it wasn't like, whoa, we're
Yeah.
there,
Right.
like breakthrough. Like we've seen this coming, right? It's been very evident that it's coming, at least for those who use FSD and have experienced it. So when it comes to AGI, one, I don't think it's going to happen as fast as people say. Lots of people say, well, X people have predicted this and they've done these polls and research on when do you think it's going to happen, and time frame is shortened and shortened and shortened. People use that as an argument. Uh, everybody has their own point of view on this, but I think you really have to take a step back and define what AGI is to you, because it used to be AGI. Now it's super intelligence. And it's like,
Right.
okay, well, where are we, where's the distinct, how do we distinguish this? But I think we're just going to get so accustomed to using these things in our everyday life that it'll just kind of sneak up on us. Like it'll be one of those things like, oh yeah, of course we have AGI. Like, of course we're living with it, whether it's Optimus being in your house doing things, you're like, yeah, it's AI. I don't know if it's AGI. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's pretty good. It's pretty smart. It's like, I think it'll be like that. It's gonna be something that just happens over time. It's not just gonna be this moment or this breakthrough. I don't think that's how it's gonna happen.
So some people use this definition, that AI are the maximum level of AI before we go to super intelligence would be that the system would be better, let's say, at doing a medical diagnosis than any living doctor. Be one-on-one, it could be give a better diagnosis than whatever field it's in, one-on-one, it could beat that person. And then they say, in order to go to super intelligent, it has to be better than the accumulation or the sum total of every doctor in the field or every physicist in the field or every whatever it happens to be. That would be super intelligence. You would have somebody on your phone that you could talk to that would be the equivalent of an Einstein. Is that
I would say to have
Einstein not in ability to invent? That's a separate level in the ability to have the conversation.
again, I don't think that's to me, that's being a very good Google searcher or good
Okay. All
researcher,
right. Okay.
right? You can quickly you can interpret a question, you can interpret symptoms, you can interpret the inputs coming in and what's being asked of you, and you can quickly compute a answer that's of high fidelity based on the inputs. To me, that's just a very advanced Google search. It's a very advanced LLM. To me, I don't see that as AGI, super intelligence, God mode, right? We'll just call it that because I don't want to like mix terms here.
Right, right.
Not to say that's God, but you know what I'm saying, God mode, better than human.
Mhm.
Um, and I think the moment we'll know that we actually have that is when we start seeing new science, new medical discoveries. When we start, that's when we're going to know that it is better than the humans, right? When it's like, okay, tell me about black holes and here's what we know. Explain this to me that we can't figure out. Oh, well, this is what, right? At that point, I would say that is super intelligence. That is real AGI.
All
Up
right.
until then, look, a humanoid, it's an evolution of Alexa or Siri,
Uh-huh.
right? Like it can do more things, whatever, but it's an incremental evolution that should naturally get there, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's how I see it. We were talking about diagnosis better than a doctor. Okay, right now I put in my symptoms into Google, right? But what you're talking about is just an evolution of that. It's not exactly that. That's not revolutionary. That's evolutionary.
It's just nines.
Re-
More nines, huh?
exactly. And it's just iterating.
Yeah.
Revolutionary would be, hey, we don't know how to do this, or we don't know why this happens. What do you think?
Maybe it'll be it telling us why it works.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Or what we could have done to build it better,
Right, right, exactly.
right? Or hey, you're showing this error. How should I fix you? you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, there you go.
like, or what's an idea to make you more efficient, or to give you more energy, or what's an idea to, yeah, like that. At that point,
Yeah.
that to me is AGI or super intelligence or whatever label you want to give it. Um, Yeah, so that's how I think about it. I think it'll slowly creep up on us in a good way, not in a bad way.
Uh-huh.
We'll just be so accustomed to all these toolings and it just having general AI. I don't know if we'll call it AI in about 5, 10 years from now, right? Like, I think AI is like just the buzzword right now, but I think we'll just be like, yeah, it's just software. AI is just going to be software. It's like, okay, why are we calling it AI? It's just software.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so in case those of you who are watching are wondering, are we going to talk about Tesla today? It's like,
Hmm.
okay, I think all of this is about Tesla because whether Tesla is first to do it or whether Tesla in combination with xAI is first to achieve this, uh, how it's impacting the actual FSD and eventually Optimus. I mean, these are all things that are impacting. So the next part might be a little further afield, but I still think that it's something that probably, let me know in the comments below if this is too far afield. But I did want to talk just a minute more and a little more depth about Bitcoin. So Trump said over the weekend.
Did not see this coming. I really did not see this coming.
So Trump over the weekend said, I'm going to be a big promoter of Bitcoin. I'm going to make Bitcoin a big deal. I thought as soon as I heard that, I guess I'm going to have to learn about it because otherwise I'm just not going to really be I'm not going to have a full knowledge of the economy if I'm not looking at something that the presidential contest is now going to be talking about. I know you've done some analysis, but you are not yet invested, if I remember. Is that correct?
No, I have a lot of Bitcoin. It's just
Oh,
on
you have a lot
Tesla's
of.
balance sheet.
Okay, okay, all right.
It just sits on Tesla's
Oh,
balance
it's on
sheet.
Tesla's balance sheet. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm invested too, and I've got $10 worth of actual Bitcoin, so I'm good. All right. So, first of all, what did you think about Trump's move? His statement, since you're also somewhat political.
So yeah. So okay. So
Let
let's take a
it
step
fly.
back.
Let it fly.
Wh- What do I? Let's talk about. Let's start with how I view Bitcoin.
Uh-huh.
The reason I don't invest in Bitcoin It's not because I don't believe in Bitcoin. It's not because I don't think the idea behind it is validated and certainly needed in today's era, but because it's hard for me to invest in something that I can't, for lack of a better word, model out,
Uh,
right? Bitcoin can sit there and I cannot tell you how it'll grow, how it can become profitable, how it'll grow in adoption. I can't do anything. And it doesn't have any, like, even gold's better because gold actually has a physical, tangible use,
yeah,
right? You use gold in chips, you use gold in
lots
all
of
kinds
industry,
of things,
lots of industry,
right?
yeah,
Lots of industries.
as well as jewelry. Yeah,
Yeah. With Bitcoin, you're really reliant on the blockchain and hoping that it can't be hacked. And I'm not convinced it can't be.
Mhm.
Um, I just think it can't be yet.
Yeah,
I think eventually it can be. And at that point, that would be a big, big risk. But
yeah.
so, all that aside, I think the idea of Bitcoin is absolutely brilliant. It's something that we absolutely need. And it helps shine a light on corruption in many, many ways. And I think in many ways, the United States is a big Ponzi scheme, right? We earn money that we get taxed on, then we spend that money we're taxed when we spend the money. If we give the money, it gets taxed. If we die, it gets taxed. If we gift it, it gets taxed. If we invest it, well, then after we invest it, it gets taxed. It's nonstop. We're taxing the same dollar over and over and over. And meanwhile, what's what's the grounding of it? It's just the U.S. military. That's it. It's the promise that the United States will pay its debts. And really, if you look at our debt, it doesn't look like we pay our debts. And it
Yeah.
doesn't look there's anything changed that anytime soon. And so the beauty with Bitcoin is you can't BS Bitcoin. At least not yet. Bitcoin is essentially related to being back on the gold standard. You
Uh,
couldn't BS that, or even
right,
on the silver standard. You couldn't
right,
BS that. You either have it or you don't. It's
right.
that simple. It's binary. And so I like the idea of going back towards something that's tangible. And I think Trump, although I do think he's leaning into this because it's a political win for him, I don't think he truly understands Bitcoin the same way I don't think he understands EVs or Tesla, but he will take it and he'll compliment Elon because it's good for him politically. And, these are the things I don't like about Trump, even though I'm in favor of Trump. Um, I think that I think he is smart enough to know when he needs to lean on other people. And I think just listening to him on the All In podcast and hearing Chamath and David Sachs and them talk about the conversation with Trump afterwards, the what was it? The fundraiser, the dinner they had with Trump,
Right.
he was asking them questions. Well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I think the beauty of Trump is that he's open minded to new ideas, which is really rare for someone his age. If I'm being completely honest here, it's unique for anybody really beyond maybe their 20s. I think the older we get, we lose that plasticity to change our mind and to think of new things. And it's not everybody, but it does tend to be a trend. We lose that plasticity. In fact, Grimes, one of Elon's baby mamas, she she had an excellent interview with Lex Friedman talking
Right,
about this idea of plasticity in the brain.
right.
But anyways, Trump seems to still have that, and I
Uh-huh.
really respect that. And so I'm getting to a point here, I promise. I think with Trump, the fact that he's able to sit there and ask bright people, what do you think?
Mhm.
Tell me this, asking questions, not just having his own opinion, trying to ramrod that. That's where we got to a point where Trump said, hey, all these Silicon Valley people are telling me that we need more immigrants, more
Mhm.
tech immigrants. Okay, well, if you go to school here, hey, let's try to get you a green card.
Right, right,
Not just anybody, but like,
right.
hey, yeah, like we should be trying to keep the people who we educate here and try to keep them here. They seem great candidates for green cards or for citizenship.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Trump doesn't come to that without speaking to Sachs and Chamas and Vivek, right? That doesn't come just from Trump.
Right.
And I think that with Bitcoin is the same thing with Trump, that he has that plasticity, that ability to say, you tell me, you're smart. You seem like a good guy. You got your stuff together. You tell me why I should listen to this. And does it make sense or does not make sense? And so that's the biggest thing I took away from him speaking at the conference was the fact that he has that. It's not just this BS. I'm going to say this because it's politically advantageous, but I will speak to this. I will listen to this. I'll show up. And if it makes sense, I'll actually listen, take action on this. And I don't see that from a lot of politicians. And not to say Trump is a politician, but with him, I do see that. And I think that's rare for someone his age and in general, just someone who's in politics. And I think if you got that, I'd rather go for that candidate that has that ability to, even if you don't think he's humble, but to ask questions, take the best ideas, want the smartest people around them, because that's what I want. I always try to ask questions from the smartest people I know, because what do I know? Let me learn off and think and come up with ideas off of your shoulder. So that's a very long-winded answer to your question, but that's kind of rounds out my whole thought on that subject.
And
But
by the
feel
way,
free to ask more questions.
well, and by the way, I think humility is just what you described. It has nothing to do with what you think of yourself.
Yeah.
I think that knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at is maturity. That's not pomposity, whatever that word is. It's not
Bombastic. Yeah.
It's not bombastic either. It's none of those things. But the pride is thinking you know what you don't know, or not being willing to be plastic enough to learn what you don't know. And I do thank you for having it be everybody over 20 as opposed to everybody over 75. You see, then I would have had to kick you off the show forever. That would have been
it's funny. And I love that interview with Grimes and Lex Friedman, because it's true. If you see certain people, they get stuck in a certain clothing style, or they'll get stuck in a certain genre of music. And it's like they never grow out of that. And you can see like, this is where they stopped. And it's so fascinating to see like, you never kept up with style and clothing. You never kept up with music. You never kept up with your politics, or your like, or going to Bitcoin or EVs, or you just, but with clothing and music, it's just so jarringly apparent on where people get stuck. And it's fascinating to me.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Well, I can tell you for sure that I was wearing HIS white shirts when I was in high school. And I don't think that's what I'm wearing today. Anyway, okay, so let's switch to Chairman Powell, who will be the big subject. He'll be the biggest. This will be his biggest day since last November or December. I can't remember which month it was. Everybody's expecting a pivot tomorrow, if not an actual decision to lower interest rates. They are expecting him to tee it up. Is that what you're expecting?
Nope.
Okay, what are you expecting?
Tomorrow, Jerome Powell will say we've made meaningful progress. We are still data dependent. We are not committed to anything at the moment. We are taking this meeting by meeting, and he's just going to say that. That's what I think. I think he's going to try to be as neutral as he can. The Bears will see what they want to see. The Bulls will see what they want to see out of it. But I think it'll be neutral. I think he'll probably say something like, we are getting closer into balance. We're seeing meaningful progress, and the Bulls will run with that.
Yeah.
And then he'll say something like, we haven't made a decision yet. September is a live meeting, something like that. And the Bears will run with that. So I think he's going to try to be neutral. And I hate you know what? Let's just go out on a limb here, Randy. Let's just go out on a limb, because you know what? If I predict this accurately, it'll be the mother of all predictions. we don't have a meeting in August.
I know.
We might see a rate cut in August.
Yeah, so you're going back to your mid meeting. You've had this prediction before, and I actually quoted you. Well, I know. Did I actually give you?
I've been consistent on this meeting, on this prediction.
I see you have been consistent. And the other day I said as much, but I don't remember if I gave you credit or not for kind of the idea. But yeah, I think there's a chance you're right. First of all, there's a lot of confusion, and I looked at some articles today as to whether Powell has advanced information about Friday on Wednesday, or whether the whole committee has advanced information about Friday when they meet on Wednesday. Because I think if we have a 4.3 print on Friday, they will, and they don't know about it on Wednesday. Therefore, they don't do anything on Wednesday. I think you could be right.
Let's help the audience. You're talking about unemployment.
Yes, unemployment
4.3%. Yeah.
I think if it's 4.3, 4.2, 4.1, 4.0, 3.9 could be a problem. Could go the other way.
So yeah, I definitely think he gets information ahead of time.
Okay.
I think if there's one thing that's clear more than it was clear before, I don't even see them hiding it anymore. The government's corrupt. Like that, it just is. They know ahead of time, and I'm sure they don't mean to come at it from a corrupt point of view. It's probably just saying like, hey, let's know the numbers, because if we should cut now, we should cut now. It's better for everybody. Like, we just need to know the data ahead of time. What's it going to be? And this seems benevolent and innocent, but it's not transparent, and that's where the corruption comes in. Because I think we'd all be fine. Be like, hey, if you get the numbers early, like, all right, make your decision. Like, but just
fine.
let us, don't BS us about it. But I think unequivocally that happens. It's been too coincidental every time. And now when you see the stuff, again, this is not conspiracy theory stuff. Go on Google. You can search Trump assassination. Can't find it. Google won't auto populate. If you type in Donald Trump, it says Kamala Harris Trump.
Right.
If you type in Kamala Harris, there's nothing about Trump. It's crazy. On Instagram, they're blocking the photos of Donald Trump with his fists in the air. Like the censorship
Admitted to it today. Yeah.
Oh, who?
Oh, they did. Yeah.
Who's they?
Instagram.
Oh, did they?
It admitted. Oh, it was a mistake. It was just.
Yeah. It's so if that's big tech doing that, like just think about government. I mean, we see what happened with Kamala and Joe and all that. Again, and I'm not one that thinks that Kamala. I don't think people need to vote again. I really don't. That's not how our country works. We don't vote for a candidate. We vote for delegates, and delegates can choose. Everybody in Florida can vote for Trump, and the delegates can say, nah, we're going Biden or Harris. That's how it works. We're voting for our delegates, not for the candidate. Unfortunately, whether you like it or not, that's how our government works. Go read up on your history if you don't believe me. But so I don't have any problem with that. But it's that we're being lied to the whole time. We're being lied to about his state of health. It's like, I don't need to tell you guys, especially your audience. You guys get it. But so my point is, if they do that with presidential candidates, you see big tech doing this. All of a sudden, we're going to say, nah, Jerome Powell, no way. No way he gets information 2 days ahead of time. I don't buy it.
So anyway, are you in agreement with me, though, that 4.3 would be the break? They would definitely, you already think they're going to be inclined to do that in between, but would the 4.3 be the final nail in the coffin as far as you're concerned?
For August or July is your question.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
That's always.
Yeah.
And if not, let's say that they don't go that way and you don't get
4.2. I would even say 4.2.
And if they don't go that way and you don't get your name in lights because you missed it and they wait till September, do we have the half point that you've been predicting also?
So what I've been predicting is that they do a 25 basis cut and then they do a bigger one after.
Oh, I thought it was first the 50 and then the 25. Okay.
No, it's been,
25.
yeah, we'll do one. And then it's, oh crap, we got to go bigger.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
But I've really thought that they would do it. So I haven't thought they would do it on an off meeting. What I've thought would happen, this just lines up nicely for it to be an off meeting. What I've been thinking would happen would be they wouldn't wait until the day of the actual meeting. That it would just be like a random Tuesday, like we got to cut now. You know, like PC or CPI or something comes out like, oh crap. No, we're having an emergency meeting. We're cutting now. We don't need to wait to this artificial date where we have our meeting. That makes no sense.
Yeah, but I don't see the CPI or the PPI or the PCE. I don't see any of those three having the impact because those are things you want to see 2 or 3 months in a row. But we've seen 8 months now of continuously downward changes in the employment number. Plus, we've seen the continuing up on the unemployment number, and we've seen this divergence between the household survey and the payroll survey. Huge divergence, maybe historically large. So, with all of that said, I think still, if it came in at 4.1, they might not even do it in September. Well, they'd have another. I think they have another. Yeah, they have another employment number between now and the September meeting. So they have another chance to take a look at it then. So a lot of information could happen between that. But at a 4.1, I don't think you're going to get your name up in lights.
September's happening one way or another.
Is it? Okay.
I based on today's data, I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know what job report's going to be. I don't know what I don't know as far as numbers, right? Everything might show, hotter than we thought. Don't know, right? Market's cyclical. But should things continue on the current trend, September is unequivocally happening. But it doesn't take much for an August, to your point, a higher unemployment number, right? All of a sudden, hey, these banks are failing over here, these regional banks. And then on top of that, I don't know, a war breaks out even further over here. And all of a sudden, I don't know, GDP number, you've been talking about this, comes in lower than we expected. And, oh, crap, CPI came in at negative 0.5. Like, what? Like, okay, we got to move. Like, it's...
Oil goes to 55.
Yeah, it
oil
doesn't
is going
take
down
much.
Like every day. Oil is going down like every day. It went down again today. $1.50 or something. It's down at 70. It was under 75 for a minute.
Wow. Yeah, and that's without any cuts.
Oh no, that's without any more cuts from the OPEC. That is according to the articles I'm reading, with pipelines filled with oil, completely overstocked with oil, and with China's numbers coming in soft at around 4% growth, which for them is like nothing. And copper, same thing. They're saying that there's so much copper, nobody knows what to do with it all. All the commodities down. You say all but gold.
And Randy, don't underestimate a very low CPI month over month, because we're seeing car prices start to drop dramatically.
Well, because
oil dropping dramatically, airline tickets dropping dramatically, right? So all this can all of a sudden show a very low month over month,
right?
And that could be enough to trigger, right?
Yeah.
So you take that plus a hotter unemployment. What more do you need at that point?
Even fast food prices falling. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And that's your whole mandate. That's your whole mandate, right? That's inflation and employment. Right. Like, we're done. It's over. We've waited too long.
Well, let's go ahead and well, no, before we wade through the numbers, the details, anything else on Tesla that you think I missed that should be on the docket?
Yeah. I think sometimes I wake up in the morning and
every day I hope.
Yeah. But sometimes I wake up and Gary Black and I must have the same wake up time, because he will post on X something to do with Tesla and FSD. And sometimes it just really grinds my gears.
I saw this morning that it did.
Yeah. There's this fallacy that Tesla needs to be at 99.99% before we can have robotaxis. Randy, you're a pretty smart person, pretty successful person. You have a good head on your shoulders, I think. If I told you that you could, for the rest of your life, drive around and you will 99% likely not get in a crash, would you take those odds? Or
I
would you
do it
only
every-
wait until you get to 99.99%?
I already do drive around every day with only a 99% chance I'm not going to get a
Yeah.
crash. It blows my mind that people don't get in more crashes already.
Well, and my point is this arbitrary statistic that we need to hit before we can have robotaxi is based on nothing. It's based on rhetoric that people have thrown out there, because the reason we know that it's a fallacy is because Waymo's out there, Cruise is out there, and they did not have a 99.99%.
And the guys in
So
China,
it's
3 companies in China. Yeah.
exactly. So it's not, let's stick with the word of the day. It's not cogent to say that. It's not. And the reason I push back on that is because you're telling me that you are going to slow down the process, the deployment of FSD, of robotaxis, because it's not 99.99% or 999%. If you ask me, if it was 98% efficacy, it is better than not having it, because
Yeah.
you're saving lives.
Right.
So this whole notion, it's honestly, it's heartless to see things like that, because you're telling me, well, we can't have it yet because the perception of a robotaxi killing someone will be more up in arms than if a human killed another human. That lacks all human. That's just cold. Like, that's just cold.
I think that there is no doubt that every human that's ever killed or even maybe hurt badly in a Tesla accident that's on robotaxi, or that is a part of a robotaxi network, will go to our headlines in the New York Times. There's no doubt in my mind. However, I don't think that'll interrupt anything. It might cause the stock to go down 10
No.
points for the day, but I don't think it'll interrupt the process.
It won't.
It'll certainly get, we get
Randy, there have been accidents.
we get a recall today.
Yeah.
And it gets headlines everywhere, and it's a over the air update. So it's going to get headlines, but I don't think it'll slow down the process.
It really frustrates me
Yeah.
when people put this bar.
Right.
Look, it's one thing for Elon and Tesla to have a bar for themselves.
Right.
It's another thing for some random analyst that doesn't actually understand the technology to try to put this bar out there. And when I ask, where'd that number come from? I don't know. Like, okay, well, what did you do to come up with that number? Someone like Gary Black's really quick to say, "Oh, where'd you get that price target from? How'd you back into that number?"
Yeah.
All right, well, how'd you back into your 99.99%?
Actually,
And again, my point is we shouldn't be doing anything that will slow down the progress to autonomy, because it'll save lives. And even if somebody were to die because of robotaxi, guess what? At least we know that robotaxi is insured.
right.
And that's a huge problem in this country, is that people get in accidents and they're not insured. And then what? Saddle up.
And I think Elon has said what his metric is. His metric is not 999. He's talked about the series of nines as a way of describing what's taking place, but he's never said that was his metric. His metric is numbers of miles between
Interventions.
Interruptions.
Yeah.
Interventions. Yeah. So that's really the metric.
Yeah.
So I think when he hits that number, when he gets to the number he's satisfied with in terms of numbers of miles between
Interventions.
interventions, I think that he'll be ready to make the announcement. He'll just, okay, you can sit in the back seat now.
Yeah, and it's going to happen this year. Like it's, I don't know what version you're on right now, but are you on?
Still 12.6. I only have the hardware 3.
Got it. Well, it's going to happen this year. Like it's, I mean, on 12.3.6, I was aware it's going to happen this year. Like it's, so you're not even driving with hands free yet, are you?
No.
With 3.6. No. Okay. Yeah. it's going to happen this year, right? The fact that like you just think about the next 6 months that we still have left, right? Or 5 months, whatever you want to call it. That's an eternity when you see what we've done
Right.
up to this point.
The last couple of months. Yeah, no kidding.
Exactly. Like it's so obvious. And again, besides the saving of lives and slowing down the progress that I think people like Gary Black, and it's not malicious. I get that's not their intent,
Yeah, right, yeah,
but
yeah.
my point is that rhetoric, those things out there, do slow down the progress. They do hurt the company. They hurt the stock, which stops investors from coming in, which does have a ripple effect into hurting the product and the rollout. And the other part that frustrates me is that there's a lot of people who maybe can't afford a Tesla
Mhm.
or can't go and test FSD, and they just don't know, but they are invested in the company. And maybe when they see something like what Gary Black posts, it makes them second guess things.
Yeah.
And everyone's so quick to tell Elon why he shouldn't post, yet there's no accountability for what they post. And someone like Gary Black has a lot of influence. He has a big following. A lot of people listen to him. He's an analyst. He's supposed to know stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just bothers me. And so I don't know. I called him out this morning. He hasn't replied in a while since I've been calling him out because I think last time I checkmated him. But it's fine. It is what it is. But it's just, if you're going to be someone who speaks out like this and the community, the Tesla community has embraced you and brought you in, have the decency to have your own original thought and don't just regurgitate rhetoric you've heard from other people, and be able to have an actual point of view, not just something you heard someone else say. Because this 99.99 is just the epitome of stupidity. And I did not mean for that to rhyme.
Okay, let's look at the numbers, and the numbers say they say that the Dow today was up 203, the Nasdaq was down the equivalent number 222, S&P up 27. So that looks like a rotation. Tesla was down 948. Tesla is up 237 in the after hours. And that is it for the after hours. So that's what it did. 237 up in the after hours. So the rest of the Mag 7 mostly down for the day. Apple and Google were up a little bit, and a lot of that is being reversed in the after hours. Like, for instance, NVIDIA is almost erased its entire down move in the after hours. And it was down big today because I think Jensen said something about Trump or about Kamala. I'm not sure what he said today that caused it to go down.
Oh, I missed that. What happened? Wait, are you joking?
Because that's what they would say if when testing.
Oh,
It's got to be because something that Elon said. So I'm sure Jensen is also out there, on Twitter. No, sorry, on X. All right.
yeah.
Anyway, any thoughts about the rotation? What are you thinking about the rotation?
Well, I said this on your episode maybe 2 weeks ago. You asked about this, if I thought there's a rotation happening. And I told you I do not think so. I think as these earnings come out, you're going to see people regret that they rotated out. And I truly believe this. And here you see AMD up, call it 8%. You see NVIDIA up 5%. Why was NVIDIA down? Because people are afraid that companies are going to stop investing in GPUs where that's oversaturated because they're not going to keep building whatever. Okay. I don't buy that. I think companies are going to continue to acquire NVIDIA GPUs hand over fist, because it's not just about, here's the problem. What you're seeing more than ever is this tension between Wall Street and builders. Builders, let's think back about Amazon. Amazon was unprofitable for decades.
Yeah,
They didn't care
yeah.
because they were long-term thinkers, whereas
Right.
Wall Street is quarter by quarter.
Mhm.
So Wall Street is bad, and here's where people can have an edge, right? There's not normally an edge between Wall Street and retail, but here's an edge. Wall Street is saying, well, it's been 8 quarters. Where's the ROI on all these GPUs? And the builders are sitting there giving the middle finger saying, yeah, we're not on your timeline.
Right.
We are researching, we're learning, we're building. We need these GPUs. The ROI will come. May not be for another decade, but it'll come. And it takes time. And it takes discovery and innovation and iteration. And I think with that, I think you're going to see NVIDIA continue to have demand. And so I think just Wall Street thinks, well, where's the ROI? People are getting scared. LLMs are just commoditized now. Yes, they are. I agree. I've been saying that for a long time. But what's going to happen on the back of LLMs? What's going to happen on the research that's happened from that? Well, whatever's going to happen, you better have the GPUs to be able to do stuff. And that's what they're missing.
Breaking news. Samsung second quarter operating profit soars 1,458%.
And why? And why?
Go ahead.
Read it. Well, no, it says read it right
I'm just seeing the headline. I see. Demand for advanced memory chips, crucial in AI computing, remained strong. Revenue 74 trillion Korean won. Okay, whatever. Revenue
because of AI. Yeah.
Revenue up 23% and profit 1,458. That's a good print.
It's a very good print. It's a very good print. So if you see AMD up, if you see Samsung up because of memory, guess what's probably going to be up? NVIDIA. And hey, look at this. NVIDIA is up 5%.
Right. All right, let's turn to the bonds. The bonds looks like a flatlining here. The UNCH is in on the, at least on the, I'm sorry, it's a full basis point back up, but it's at 415, which is fine. I'm good with that number right now as we go into the rest of this week. The 2-year up almost the same, 0.9 of a basis point, and the 2-month down, call it unchanged. So the spread there, though, the inversion has gone back up to 20. Is that where it is here? Let's see, 36, 21 and a half. So basis points. So that's really weird to me that the inversion is re-expanding, has been for the last like 4 days. So not sure about that one. That's one that's driving me crazy. Can't wait to figure out what that was all about. If we ever know. I know. If we solve AI, we can ask.
There you go.
Natural gas. I'm sorry, oil. Up a little tiny bit. It was down earlier. It's above 75 at 75.31 for Texas Intermediate. Brent under 30 at 78.63. Natural gas unchanged in the pre-market at 2,126. Staying above 20. I mean, above 2 rather, but not by much. Gold, $3.20 up in the pre-market. 2,408 though, back over 2,400 again. That's been interesting. Where do you think gold goes? You care?
I mean, I think it's going to continue to climb, to be honest. You know, I don't have my computer open right now, or my other computer open. The VIX was climbing.
Yeah.
And so when VIX climbs, gold climbs. And so last I saw the VIX, it wasn't
17.5.
And VIX, for if you don't know, VIX is a measure of, people call it the fear index. That's kind of a misnomer. It's really just the volatility in the market. So when volatility expands, people become fearful because like there's more uncertainty. But it's actually better in many ways for the markets. But when that expands, gold tends to climb, Bitcoin tends to climb. And so I don't see that retracting anytime soon. And just in general, you know, if you look at the Chinese market right now, they're just in a crisis with real estate, and that's where most of their net worth lies. And so I think you're going to continue to see, and I don't quote me on this, I haven't done too much research on this, but it seems very logical for me to see a lot of Chinese, they love gold to begin with, but it seems logical for them to start to buy up gold to kind of, you know, help protect their own family's assets and net worth when the housing market is in such chaos.
You can be quoted. The Chinese central bank, various other central banks around the world the South Koreans and the Americans all buying retail gold. Yeah.
See, I just trust my gut then.
There you go. All right. Maybe
like
you heard it on my channel. All
I'm
right.
just using logic.
Silver down 0.12% at 28.49. So staying below that $30 cutoff. Copper up 0.21%. It is above the $4 line again at 409. It is I'm sorry that I misdirected people just now on copper. Copper had been above 5. It has now been heading towards 4, but has maintained, it's been able to remain above 4. And then, the dollar's down against everything. Not much, but it's down generally. And the Bitcoin down 1398 at 65,985. So playing around in the middle of its recent range. We talked about Bitcoin earlier. Pre-market on the Dow is down 161 or 0.39%, with the NASDAQ the opposite, up 131 or 0.70, and the S&P kind of playing in the middle, up 9 or 0.16%. So that doesn't look like a rotation. That looks like the rotation rotating.
It's almost like Nick has been saying this for 2 weeks.
Okay, here's something to take into consideration for everybody, including Nick, because Randy's been calling the rotation for about 2 months. I've been saying we need to broaden out the market. We need the rotation.
The one thing we don't agree on.
I know. But Larry had an interesting statement. He says the rotation is going to be fits and starts, and that it will be more a case of the Magnificent Seven and the tech stocks going down more than the broader market goes down. So I believe we need to have a 10% correction, and it looks like from today's numbers we could be going there. We need a 10% correction, maybe even a 20% on the overall tech, and a 10%, even the NASDAQ as a whole, 10% correction on everything else. And when that happens, he thinks the broader market won't go down as much.
This is just crystal ball looking. Okay. Larry doesn't know. Randy doesn't know. Nick doesn't know. We are all just being the best BSers we can. With that, I patently disagree.
Okay.
I think we're going to see all-time highs going into the rest of the year.
Oh, no, I think by the end of the year we'll be at all-time highs. I just think we have to correct first.
I don't think so. If we're going to correct, we would have corrected already.
We did 5%, 5% and 10%, 5% on the S&P and the Dow, 10% on the NASDAQ.
Talking about with what matters, where the money is actually being made. That's cute. That's cute. I'm talking about,
Okay, we'll see what happens.
Because you can always say 10%, right? But like a 10% correction in Tesla, that's like a normal Tuesday.
I know.
Like that's not a correction, Like if you're talking about a correction Tesla, all right, maybe a 40% pullback, that's the equivalent of a market 10%. Yeah, it's like, okay, then I would be like, all right, yeah, there was a correction. Like if we were down to 180, I'd be like, all right, yeah, we definitely pulled back. But I don't see that happening. I think that and really, I'm just saying this so that people don't get scared and miss out on what may happen. Not financial advice, but
right.
I really think that we're going to run up into the end of the year. I think the Fed's going to start cutting rates. And I think it's going to be a crazy election. Yeah. It's going to be a crazy election.
And change of government is good for the stock market and good for the economy. And if we have the change of government, when we have the change of government.
Well, I was going to say, won't lie, it seems like Kamala is definitely getting her bump right now. So
she got her bump, but she's still underwater. She's still underwater where it counts, and the betting market she's still underwater. So,
I mean, listen,
after the bump,
you know which way I'm going to be pulling, but she apparently is leading on several polls in battleground states right now.
Couple of them, yeah. Honeymoon will be over as soon as she has to talk off teleprompter.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It'll be interesting, and maybe this has been announced, and I'm just not in the know. But I think the sooner a debate is scheduled, the better, so that we can. And this isn't to say that my mind can't be changed.
Yeah.
You know, I think we need to see her, and I'm pretty sure it can't. But I always like to leave room to for what I don't know.
I'm not,
Um,
I'm not that plastic.
you never know. You just never know. But I think we need to have a debate sooner than later. Is there one scheduled to your?
Actually, they have the ABC debate that was supposed to happen. That's probably not going to happen. It sounds to me, Trump said today he wants to wait till after the convention and then they will negotiate. And in my opinion, he will negotiate completely differently than he did with Biden. He will be looking for a fair fight, not a CNN moderated by somebody that hates Trump.
Yeah. In hindsight, I bet you Trump wishes he didn't do that debate.
Yeah, right. Which is that Biden was still in the race. I don't listen. I think Kamala is going to be a worse candidate when it's all. This is just me. I've been watching politics since I was 14, 13 years old. I actually worked the precincts for Goldwater at like 14 or whatever I was when Goldwater was running. I really think that Kamala is a completely horrible candidate. She's proven it by what she did in the primaries last time. And I think once she's actually has to string sentences together and she gets a few chances for people to actually see what she believes, I think she'll fall below where Biden was in the polls, and it'll be a big, big win.
The only thing is, no matter how bad of a candidate she is, there's two things that you have no way to account for: is the amount of anti-Trump votes, just because I don't want to vote for Trump, and then also, again, I know I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but just hearing Elizabeth Warren today talking about illegal immigrants need to be able to have a pathway to citizenship. It's like this
Yeah,
is
I'm
crazy to me.
there's been lots of vote tampering over the years. My first experience with it was Kennedy, where the dead people were voting in Chicago, and that's not a conspiracy theory. That's a known fact. And that's what got Kennedy the election. So, it can happen, and it could happen this time. I'm way more worried about the people that are going to blindly vote for the first woman of color. And I think that's idiocy and that's sad, but there will be a percentage of people that will make that decision that way. So anyway, we should probably wrap this thing up. We've
Oh,
been going
yeah,
for about
sorry.
7 hours. It's not your fault. I love to talk. So Nicholas Gibbs, it's been great having you on again, and we have certainly covered the territory. And to all of you out there, we've both enjoyed the heck out of talking to you.